Hello everyone, welcome to Encore. I'm Mariam Saab in Paris, coming up on today's film show. Ryan Stone and Emma Gosling may sing and dance, but does Damien Chazelle's romantic musical La La Land hit all the right notes? Voters think so. It scored a historic 14 Oscar nominations. The Cesar Awards throw the spotlight on French cinema. Films France and Elle lead the pack, with actress Isabelle Huppert picking up a Cesar and an Oscar nod for Best Actress. And back to the birthplace of film with its founding fathers, who are in fact brothers. Auguste and Louis Lumiere's earliest reels are back in cinemas for the first time in over a century. And joining us to go over all that and more is our very own encyclopedia of cinema, film critic Lisa Nesselson. Thanks for coming on.
Sure.
Now let's start with La La Land. The musical broke records at the Golden Globes earlier this month, and it's on track to do the same at the Oscar ceremony. It's out this week in France to near universal acclaim. Tell us, Lisa, is it worth all this hype?
I'm so glad you asked. Ostentatious clearing of throat. What to say about ecstatic cheers for La 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 Land? Kind of charming, but alarming that the praise is out of hand. Thin story, cliches most hoary. Why all the glory? It beats me. Kinda nice, but please think twice. It's not one for posterity.
Sorry, round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Nesselson.
I saw this movie under ideal conditions in early November as the closing film at the Vienna International Film Festival on the enormous widescreen of Vienna's glorious Gartenbau Kino. I enjoyed Franco-American writer-director Damien Chazelle's previous film Whiplash enormously and was absolutely rooting for this one because Chazelle is a smart guy and a trained musician. But as the film played to a packed house, it became clear that La La Land tackles the American movie musical, but it does so in a very casual way. Don't get me wrong, you should definitely go out to see it if you're interested. It's just not quite as good as we're being told it is. The characters' dreams don't feel tailor-made. Instead, they seem to have been plucked off a shelf. It sort of dreams are us. So he, Seb, a piano player, wants to open a jazz club that will showcase the purity of true jazz. And she, Mia, wants to express herself as an actress, goes on endlessly discouraging auditions, finally writes herself a one-woman show. Will they fall in love? And if so, will they remain there? Here is France 24's Louise Dupont at the Paris premiere of the film, asking actors Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone about their personal connection to the material.
I've always loved old 50s Hollywood musicals. I thought that was a thing of the past. I would just watch them and obviously never get to make one, so getting to work on something like it was really felt special. The message at the heart of the film of pursuing your dreams despite the obstacles was a nice thing to be involved with.
You could just write your own roles, write something that's as interesting as you are.
What are you gonna do?
I have my own club.
Is that gonna happen every time?
I think so.
I moved to LA when I was 15 to start auditioning and hopefully acting, and auditioned pretty steadily for about 3 years before I got my first movie, before I was cast in my first movie. So I definitely knew that experience. I knew dreaming of something and wanting it to come true so badly.
Now, when Woody Allen came to Paris 20 years ago with his semi-musical Everyone Says I Love You, he told us that he loved Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers movies as a kid. Quote, "The stories were trivial, but the music and dancing were fantastic," end quote. And he cited the color musicals of Vincent Minnelli and Stanley Donen in the 1950s as, quote, "possibly America's best films." La La Land, for me, too often rhymes with bland. If you're going to tackle and share your love for the movie musical, whether your inspiration is MGM or Francis Jacques Demy, then you should aim for excellence. This is sort of middle of the road, perhaps fittingly for a piece built on car culture.
So La La Land didn't quite hit the mark for you, Lisa, despite being the darling of awards season and leading the pack with 14 Oscar nominations. Now, the French actually have another reason to get behind this film, and that's because it has a Franco-American director, Damien Chazelle. Now, beyond La La Land, tell us why French cinema has reason to celebrate in Los Angeles come February 26th.
Well, Isabelle Huppert is, of course, French, and she has been nominated for Best Actress in a magnificent field of splendid performances. Her role in Paul Verhoeven's Elle, which is my favorite film from last year, any language, couldn't be better. Here's her character, Michelle, at dinner.
Violée?
Mon Dieu.
En vrai? Quand ça?
Jeudi à 3 heures.
Et t'as rien dit?
Eh ben, je sais pas quoi dire. Qu'est-ce qu'il faut dire? Mon Dieu. Oh, qu'est-ce que j'étais conne de vous le dire.
Mais non, t'es folle.
Michel, il faut que tu signales ça à la police tout de suite. Pourquoi? Pourquoi? Mais ça y est, c'est fini, c'est plus la peine d'en parler. On va pas épiloguer. Bon, on commande.
Now, Huppert is the major French nomination, but Jackie, starring Natalie Portman as Jackie Kennedy, was co-produced by France, shot in part in France, and the head costume designer, Madeleine Fontaine, who's nominated, is French. The Salesman by Ashghar Farhadi is Iran's entry for foreign language film, but it was made possible by a French production company. Two animated films co-produced by France are competing, the stop-motion Ma Vie de Courgette and the hand-drawn The Red Turtle, both premiered in Cannes. Both are superb. There's also a French short film as a finalist. Isabelle Huppert this year will have to do the same thing that the cast and crew of The Artist had to do, which is to attend the Césars here in Paris on Friday night, February 24th, get on a plane to Los Angeles, and attend the Oscars on Sunday.
Busy season for Isabelle Huppert. Now, aside from the French highlights, what else grabs you about this year's Oscar nominations?
Well, I am personally delighted that the Academy recognized what an outstanding film Mel Gibson's Hacksaw Ridge is, nominating the fact-based World War II story for Best Director, Picture, Editing, Sound Mixing, and Best Actor for Andrew Garfield, who's an English actor but incredibly good as an American Southerner who wants to serve in the war but refuses to carry a weapon. Manchester by the Sea is superb. Best Film, Actor, Director, Original Screenplay. And Meryl Streep scored her record-breaking 20th nomination for Forrest Foster Jenkins. She's wonderful, but I'm guessing this is also the Academy's rebuttal to Trump's, shall we say, petty tweet about Streep being overrated. And a topic a lot of people are talking about with Fences, Hidden Figures, and Moonlight, all up for Best Picture. Some are saying that African-American talent is finally being taken more seriously than in previous editions. I am delighted that people who happen to have darker skin than my own are being honored for their fine work. I also think it's reductive to keep track, to count. Some years there just happen to be more films that fit on the so-called diversity scale than other years. The watchword should be excellence, not skin color.
I have to agree with you there, Lisa. Now, staying with the rollout of accolades in film, the French equivalent to the Oscars, the Cesars, are hot off the press. Any surprises there?
Well, for me, there is one clear choice right down the line, not really a surprise in terms of nominations, and that would be Elle. For Best Picture, Huppert for Actress, Paul Verhoeven for Director, Best Supporting Actor and Actress. François Ozon's France, the post-World War I drama, is incredibly moving, very well done. I would also give that awards, but in a parallel universe, because Elle should win. And a movie I personally don't care for, but that made a huge splash at Cannes, where it was given the Camera d'Or for Best First Film, is Divine, which fills that diversity slot here in France.
Now, we might not have any of these wonderful films that you're speaking about were it not for Auguste and Louis Lumiere, who are credited with inventing cinema back in the 1890s here in France. There's a new movie out this week, which is made up entirely of, we could say, the oldest reels currently in existence. Can you tell us more about that?
Gladly. These are the oldest documents that show us what life was like in motion, and that is incredibly moving in both senses of the word. This incredibly wonderful compilation, assembled and narrated by Thierry Frémaux, whose voice you hear there, shows us 108 films from the 1,422 total that have survived. And films shot by Lumiere cameramen still occasionally show up over 120 years later. The thing with celluloid is that you can hold it up to the light light and see what it is. Try that with a floppy disk or disintegrating video cassettes or a scratch DVD. The French call cinema the seventh art. Nobody knows when the other six arts, which are painting, dance, music, sculpture, poetry, and architecture, were invented, but we do have a date for the Lumiere brothers' cinématographe, which means to write with movement, and gave us the term cinematography. Other inventors worldwide were, of course, working on inventing motion pictures, but the first Lumiere film was shot on March 19th, 1895, hand-cranked, 52 seconds, starting here this week in France and eventually in the 20 other countries that have bought this film. For the first time since the turn of the previous century, audiences can buy a ticket to see a program of Lumiere films, shot by the cameraman dispatched worldwide to bring life in one place to the people in another place, faraway lands. There were 33 paying customers and in the audience on December 28th, 1895, here in Paris at the first paying screening, and I get choked up just thinking about it. Now, some people get more done than I do, and one of them is Thierry Frémaux. He is the artistic director of the Cannes Film Festival, and he runs the Lumiere Institute in his native Lyon. This is a book he wrote. It's 617 pages recounting the year in which he planned the 2016 Cannes Film Festival. He finished writing it on December 2nd, 2016. The French are good at a lot of things, and another thing they're good at is turning around a manuscript and having a book in stores because it's been in stores for 2 weeks. It's if you read French, it is just brimming with anecdotes about what goes into putting together the world's major, most important film festival.
We'll definitely have to check that out. Now, we began the show with a musical starring Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, and we'll end it with an animated jukebox musical out this week in France, starring a koala named Buster Moon and a punk rock porcupine called Sing. The film's called Sing. Now we're going to leave you with a preview of that. Thank you very much, Lisa, for sharing your expertise. Don't forget to connect with us online, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Stay tuned. There's more news coming up on France 24 right after this.
Just think, your neighbor, the grocery store manager, that chicken, right there. Real talent from real life.
Norman, would you please tell them what a good singer I am?
Oh, yeah, you were great, honey. By the way, the bathroom sink is blocked again.
I'm here to win. That prize, it's mine. Everyone in this city gets a shot at being a star on my stage. Come, my lady, you're my butterfly, sugar, baby. Like the wind.
The 51%, presented by Annette Young.
A program about women who are reshaping our world. We meet those who seek equality, be it in the boardroom or at the village well. The 51% brings you stories from across the globe about the women who are challenging the way we think.
The 51% on France 24 and France24.com.